influence anyone without saying a word. Cinematic voiceover script. Segment 1. They said power lives in the tongue, that words are weapons. That influence is a matter of rhetoric. But the truth is, the most powerful language on earth has no alphabet, no sound, no speech. The most magnetic force in human interaction is energy, presence, intention. You become unforgettable not by what you say, but by who you are in the moments you say nothing at all. Walk into a room and the atmosphere either shifts with you or it ignores you. That's the test. That's the difference between those who are watched and those who are invisible. So here's the question. What is it that makes one person enter quietly, yet command every eye, while another screams and is still forgotten? It's not talent. It's not charm. It's not even charisma in the way most people define it. It's alignment. Alignment between your inner world and outer expression, between what you believe and how you move, between what you want and what you're willing to embody. This is the skill no one teaches in school. No curriculum, no degree. But master this, and you won't just speak to people, you'll move them. Influence begins long before words ever arrive. Influence lives in your posture, in your pace, in the silence between glances. It lives in the energy that precedes your presence, like thunder before lightning. And here's the truth most never hear. If your energy is misaligned, no amount of clever talk can fix it. People don't listen to words, they listen to congruence. They're wired for it. Thousands of years of survival instincts tune the human nervous system to feel before it understands, to detect truth before it hears logic. That's why you can't fake presence. You can't perform authenticity. You are or you're not. Look at history's greatest leaders. Lincoln, with eyes like steel wrapped in mercy. Roosevelt, who entered rooms like he already knew the future. Tesla, whose silence spoke in volts. Carnegie, who could disarm titans without a raised voice. They didn't win men with speeches alone. They won them with presence, with energy that said, I know who I am, and I don't flinch. Because power, real power, is quiet. It doesn't need permission. It doesn't ask to be understood. It radiates. And that radiation, your internal voltage, is what people follow. Before you ever open your mouth, the world is already reading you. Your breath, your shoulders, the way your eyes rest or dart, the tension in your jaw, the stillness in your hands. These things speak volumes. They tell the truth even when your mouth doesn't. And people believe that truth every time. So the path to influence starts within, not in what you say, but in what you resolve. Not in performance, but in embodiment. You want to influence others? Then start with the hardest influence of all, yourself. Master your emotional state until peace becomes your power. Train your body until it speaks your mission without effort. Align your purpose with your presence so that even in silence, you roar. Because the world doesn't follow noise, it follows certainty. The man who is calm in chaos. The woman who doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't explain, but moves like she's already arrived. That is power, and it starts with belief. A kind of belief that doesn't live in your words, but in your spine. So ask yourself, when you walk into a room, what does your energy say? Does it whisper uncertainty? Does it apologize for being seen? Or does it declare, without saying a word, I belong here? That is the level you must reach, where your presence becomes a mirror, where in your stillness others see what they lack, and in your silence they feel what they need. The most influential people in the world do not push. They pull. They don't convince. They inspire. Because they've mastered the art of self-regulation. They've trained their emotions into allies. They don't erupt. They don't shrink. They center. That's the first law of silent influence. Your state determines your signal. If you walk around anxious, scattered, afraid, your energy broadcasts that, loud and clear. If you're grounded, convicted, unwavering, that's what you transmit. That's what shapes how people respond. People mirror the energy they receive. Their subconscious tunes to your frequency before you ever say hello. So control your frequency, and it begins with the most ancient discipline of all, presence. To be fully here, fully now. Not distracted, not divided, but awake in your body, awake in your breath. Not pulled into the past or worried about the next move, but rooted like a mountain in a storm, still, massive, unmoved. This is not a metaphor. This is neurobiology. This is psychology. This is real. When you are present, people feel safe. They trust without understanding why. When you are frantic, fragmented, desperate, they retreat. Again, not because of logic, but because your energy is leaking. So how do you build the kind of presence that commands without control? It starts with mastery of self-talk. You may think silence is external, but the loudest noise is internal. If the voice in your head is tearing you down, second-guessing, doubting, analyzing every move, you cannot transmit clarity. You cannot lead. You cannot influence. So first, cleanse the inner noise. Speak to yourself as if you are the future you already admire. Speak as if the world is already yours and you're simply catching up. Speak as if your presence is a gift to the room, not a burden. Because it is. When you believe that, without arrogance, when you know it, without needing applause, the world responds in kind. Influence flows not from the loud toes, but from the aligned. You don't need to be the most articulate. You don't need to dominate conversations. You don't need to charm or impress. What you need is to own your space, fully, deeply, with no apology. That's where silent influence begins. Not in the mouth, in the mind. And soon, in the next stretch of your evolution, you'll realize it's not just about belief or presence. It's about the vision you carry when no one's watching, the way you walk when no one's looking, the way you hold yourself when the room is quiet, and the moment asks nothing of you, but you still choose excellence. Because the real ones don't just prepare for the spotlight. They live like the spotlight is always on, and the world can feel that. Because the real ones don't just prepare for the spotlight. They live like the spotlight is always on, and the world can feel that. People follow consistency, not perfection, not polish, not performance, but consistency. When your energy is the same in private as it is in public, when your values don't change based on who's watching, when your presence doesn't shrink in the face of doubt or inflate in the face of praise, that's when people trust you. Trust isn't built through eloquence. It's built through congruence, through the seamless unity between what you stand for and how you show up. And when that unity becomes unshakable, your presence speaks before you do. You become the kind of person who walks into a room and doesn't need attention, yet draws it effortlessly. The kind of person who sits at the table quietly and others lean in, sensing that silence isn't emptiness, it's depth. This is not about manipulating others. It's about mastering yourself, because that mastery is magnetic. Think of the icons who shaped history without raising their voice. Gandhi didn't command armies. He commanded respect through stillness, through clarity, through a presence so unwavering, even empires bent before him. That's not hype. That's truth. True influence requires no spotlight. It creates one. And the secret? It's in how you carry yourself when the world offers you nothing, when there's no reward, no camera, no recognition. How do you stand then? How do you move? How do you breathe? Because that's where influence is forged, in the moments no one sees. You cannot fake it when it matters. You must become it when it doesn't. Influence is not a mask you put on in public. It's a frequency you build in solitude, in the gym when no one's watching, in the early morning when the world's asleep, in the decisions you make when compromise would be easier and silence would be safer. Your posture becomes your proclamation. Your gaze becomes your message. Your stillness becomes your speech. And people feel it. You want to be respected without speaking? Then become someone worth listening to, even when silent. The problem is most people live from the outside in. They adjust based on feedback, based on likes, based on applause. But influence, real influence, is built from the inside out. It's not a reaction. It's an emission. You radiate strength because you've built it. You radiate peace because you've earned it. You radiate confidence because you've walked through the fire and refused to burn. And that fire is where your presence is forged. So now you must decide, will you continue to chase attention with noise, with volume, with desperation? Or will you become the kind of force that people notice, not because you demand it, but because your very existence reminds them what they could become? The most powerful human beings aren't loud. They're certain. There's a stillness in them, a gravity, like they're tuned into something deeper than conversation, like their silence is more articulate than most speeches, because it is. You don't need to be the funniest, the most charismatic, the most clever. You need to be anchored. You need to be still when others flinch. calm when others panic, focused when others chase. And when you reach that level, people will feel you before they hear you. They'll notice the room changed, and they won't know why. But deep down, their instincts will whisper, someone just entered who knows who they are. That's what we chase. Not fame, not approval, not applause, but presence. Because presence can't be taken. It can't be copied. It can't be taught in a book or bought in a course. It's earned in private, cultivated through struggle, refined through discipline. And one day, it becomes effortless. Not because it's easy, but because it's who you've become. You no longer act influential. You are. In every room, every conversation, every glance becomes a canvas your presence paints on without ever needing to raise a brush. That's the level we're reaching for. That's the silent roar. That's the invisible fire. And you are just getting started.